This episode is brought to you by Bellator's Publishing, bringing stories to the world that last forever.
Today on Faithfully Fantasy.
I don't feel like this is coincidental, given Xaden is known as Onyx and Violet is known as Silver. I think it's foreshadowing how they are the key to something bigger together, and that maybe Andarna didn't just wait 600 years for Violet, but for Violet and Xaden together. I think she's already Venin. I think that's one of the reasons why Imogen wiped her memories, because then hopefully she doesn't think she's done it, so she doesn't have the feeling that she needs to carry on doing it.
So I had no second signet. So basically he's saying the first line that Violet says that he doesn't have one, or later on she will see him wielding.
Hello and welcome to Faithfully Fantasy,
The husband and wife podcast talking all things Onyx Storm.
I'm JC.
And I'm Sean.
And today we cover chapters 27 through 29. And just heads up, we use strong language, express passionate opinions, and explore complex themes. So listener discretion is advised.
This episode will contain spoilers from all three books, as well as snippets of information we've had from Rebecca Yarros since the release of the fourth book.
And before we start with a squad brief, quick heads up, you can now subscribe for exclusive content. Think early access to episodes, bonus episodes every month, and totally ad-free listening. You can even try it for free and cancel anytime. For the best deal, check out faithfullyfantasy.com, or if it's easier, just subscribe right on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for instant access. And now, without further ado, let's start with the squad brief.
So this week we pick up back in Deverelli, and Violet is cleaning up the mess that Venin Bay just made. Or might she just be creating an even bigger mess? She's trading the rarest dragon's egg for access to the island on the hunt for Irids. We prepare to leave for the next quest, but quickly realise we're going to have to disobey direct orders and not come back between the island hopping. This time the full squad is in on the plans, and the first years want to help, some more than others. We finally get to see the Prince Pathetic put in his place by his not-so-missing brother, and Ulrich replaces Holden as the voice of Navarre for the upcoming trip. We fly for Umbriel, camp under the stars as bait, and are discovered by the Umbrish army.
Okay, so now it's getting interesting, and I think some of this chapter that we're going to talk about today is one of our favorite chapters, or at least has our favorite scenes with the prince.
Yeah. It's so weird because there's so much going on in this book, and that interaction between, or like when Ulrich appears from the mist, is my favourite part of the book. Sounds a bit bonkers because so much more happens than that. But.
Yes, but I think maybe here when we start to actually see how important is going to be the role of Ulrich in the full story.
Yeah. And Dune.
Yes. All right, time for a history lesson. Let's dive deep and see what the past is hiding about the future. Chapter 27.
The epigraph. Sometimes diplomacy is best served at sword point. Journal of Captain Lilith Sorrengail. We got this as a sneak peek from Rebecca Yarros' Instagram before Onyx Storm came out. And I'm not sure we actually saw what diplomacy Lilith gave or delivered at sword point. But I am pretty sure it has something to do with Violet's dedication. I wonder if we'll find out, because we know that the dedication was not complete because her pathway was too unknown. Yeah. I wonder if Lilith intervened at all.
That would be really interesting to find out, because she was a captain when this happened. So we are assuming that it was long time ago, but we don't know how long are we talking about? How long has she been a general in Basgayad? Because yes, they have promoted really quick. Obviously, there's many people dying and there's vacancy constantly. The only thing we know is that once she got the general, she's
she stuck as a general for a while. But she was a captain, so it's possible that she was a captain when, like you said,
When
maybe
Violet
just
was like
when
2?
Violet,
Yeah.
was a little one.
So my main question is, when did she write this? And I have a feeling it was around the same time. That's just my guess.
Yeah, do you think we will see, or at least we will be able to link in future books, or this is just going to be a random epigraph?
No, I think we will. I think we're going to learn a lot more in the next book about Lilith Sorrengail's journals. So Violet has read them, and there is a big chunk missing about this time. And we find out, 29, that Mira spent her leave visiting Grandma Niara. I think we will get much more of that in the future books. So this was the book all about Daddy Sorrengail and his research and his books. I think possibly the next book will be a bit more about Lilith.
Yes.
So last week we left off when Xaden had channeled from somewhere and had wiped out all of the Deverelli guards. So Violet says, I grabbed the small object on impulse and closed my fingers around the pebble-sized piece of alloy from my conduit. So my question is, why can't Violet channel from that?
Yeah, it's something really curious, because I always thought that if you put your energy in that object, she will be able to will, because the power is there. So she's just like directing the energy. But it seems that it's just to help you to focus where the target is, but it doesn't give directly the power from the signet.
Yeah, I wonder, it's not like a battery for Violet, so you must only be able to channel from it if you already know how to channel from the ground.
Yes.
But does that mean a dragon could channel from it?
I will say that dragon is quite big for that. I think there are dragons, they channel from really deep down on the ground. And this one maybe is just perfect for the Venin. They just absorb magic from anywhere.
Yeah, just like a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
They're like parasites. They just like getting from little bits from everywhere.
Yeah, okay. Every day is a school day. So there's a bit of a time where Xaden tries to justify what he's done, and Violet shuts it down. She says the why of it does not matter right now. And that was the why of it doesn't matter. The reason why you did it. I think Rebecca Yarros put that there for a reason. And I'm going to come back to my point that I make almost every single week. I think the why of it does matter. I think magic knows if there is a good reason, it's going to be okay. And this is just part of me telling myself it's going to be okay. But how can it not matter whether you are stealing magic for your own gain, for your own power, compared to whether you are taking it for the good of kind of humanity?
We know that in this series, balance is an important role in everything. So I'm thinking that just because magic takes part of your soul when you channel directly, it's just you can pay the price, because if you're seeking for power, you will never satisfy the hunger. You want more. The more powerful you are, the more power you want. So magic, what it does is, okay,
Takes
you want
the soul.
power, then it's like limited. So it get the balance. Otherwise, it will just get all the power. But we'd say that the time we see that he's channeling from the ground is because he's in a really bad situation and he just needs enough power to defeat the person or the situation where he is, because there are people around. It's not even for himself saving his life. It's always thinking saving somebody's life. So,
and this ultimately isn't that much different to what Violet was doing with Andarna's power to stop time in Fourth Wing. She was taking a little bit, not too much, but just enough.
yeah.
But that ultimately is what Leothan judges her, well, not him, but the other Irids judge her on. The fact that it doesn't matter why she was taking it, she was still taking it.
Yes.
So maybe there's a link there, and maybe the why does.
It's important.
Maybe the why doesn't matter. I don't know. I've changed my mind now. No, I genuinely think it's got to matter. It's got to matter.
So we have Violet. She is checking on Xaden. Xaden just channeled, so his eyes had changed. Violet noticed immediately they're red now because he channeled. But she says as well that it's still Xaden's eye. So I'm wondering if when Jack Barlow or other people that channel it, if the look changed as well, or if this is like we're saying, because the reason it might matter, the difference in Xaden is that yes, physically had changed the color, but the look is still being Xaden.
Oh, I like that. That's another reason why you think it's different. I think it's Violet telling herself everything's okay and there's no red flags here. I think she's a little bit delulu. But I do agree. And I know that I'm contradicting myself a bit around this because I think it's partly what I hope versus what I believe. And I'm trying to talk myself out of the fact that he's going too far because I don't think he is going too far. But all the signs kind of point that way, don't they?
We can see a pattern here because the time when he is channeled, he do it because somebody's in problem, like I said before. But the other thing that comes after this is that he feels remorse. He knows that it's something that he shouldn't done, but he feels that it was the only way.
Yeah, I guess he does feel remorse, but I was a bit annoyed by it in this chapter that he just nods. Like she says, trust me on this, I will deal with it. Like there's a crazy king, Takara's who nobody trusts. Holden, at this point I think he's passed out on the floor,
yes,
so he doesn't.
Yes.
But he's going to wake up at some point. She says, leave it with me, just listen, do what I say. And he just nods and he goes over and sits in the corner and he puts his head between his knees. Yeah. Do you genuinely believe that is what Xaden Ryerson would do in any situation? Even when he knows he's going to fuck stuff up. Like, come on. He's not going to just leave Violet to deal with it, is he? Mm-hmm. What happened there? That feels to me like a total character, like, going AWOL.
I mean, I can understand and give it the Xaden trust Violet. So when Violet said, trust me, leave this with me, he will do it because he believes Violet knows what she's doing. The part that is hard to believe for me is that Xaden just go like I don't know, a little boy that had done something and go into like the naughty corner.
He goes into the corner and crouches and puts his head.
That's the part that for me is just
can't see him doing that. And then later he leaves and he's like strutting, and Violet says he leaves like with his head down, looking like the arrogant ass he is. At no other point in this chapter has he been arrogant. He's been sat in the corner. Mm-hmm. Weird.
Yeah.
I felt really weird in this chapter. I was kind of like not really sure what was going on because it felt like a moment that was totally out of character for Xaden.
Yeah. I would believe it more if she just said to Xaden, just go find Sorrengail and just leave now. And then he just leaves.
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah, he's feeling bad. He's feeling embarrassed.
Well, yeah, because you could still, I think she wanted him to crouch down and look guilty, basically, because she was like, look, he's showing remorse. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he would actually do that. I agree with you. I think if she'd said, just go, and like him basically leaving was him showing remorse. Yeah, I think that would have been a bit better.
Yeah.
Anyway. Maybe there's a good reason for it. People can tell us.
So we see the Courtlyn, see what happened. So he knows that Xaden has used the signet. And he says, we have no magic here. How he does this. And I start to believe that maybe one of the reasons that these people are living in the island and it's everything like against riders. So they live very far away. Therefore, a dragon is like a struggle to go that far. They have these crossbows, like waiting for the dragons. Then they have no magic there. So everything is like to make sure that it's against dragon riders and dragons. And when he said that we have no magic here, is he's saying like really convinced, but at the same time, I'm not sure if he knows how magic can work. Like the Venin, they can get the power from objects.
But he is. We suspect that he is like the 1,000-year-old king that can.
Yes,
access
but
magic.
there's no magic in the ground. That is for sure. Which means either they managed to find magic from other sources. We had a little talk about this last episode about that maybe there's magic in the ocean or something like this. But I was thinking that they should have at least like something to get the magic, even if they put it in objects.
I think I know what it is. What if Takaris is supplying Courtlyn with imbued alloy? You know the alloy hilted daggers that he's been getting out of Erasure? Are they? How can we be sure they are all going to the Poromish flyers? They might not be. Some of them could be going to Deverelli. And so they do have, Courtlyn can have kind of a supply of magic. I think he does have access to magic there because he is looking a lot younger than he is, supposedly. How is he doing that if it's not magic? Unless he's like feeding on the souls of it and you go into like some deep fantasy there. It's got to have access to magic, hasn't he? I think Takaris is supplying him with daggers.
Yeah, maybe the conduit is something that he doesn't know about. So he just maybe had just one kind of object when he get the magic. And he see that none of them are carrying or anything like that. So that's why he's so curious or so shocked that how he does
They must
this.
also have alloy hilted daggers with them, surely, because they're passing through Venin territory. So some of the daggers that Violet, Xaden, Mira, they all have, surely they're alloy hilted.
Yeah.
Does that mean Xaden can channel from them as well?
Yeah. And to be honest, just with the carrots, because if I will remember the end of Fort Wayne or in Iron Flame, flyers are constantly asking for more weapons. They need more, like constantly they need more. They have lots of weapons, and I'm pretty sure maybe the carrots is taking some of the part.
Siphoning some off. Yeah, yes. I don't think they had a lot, because if you think of what Xaden could physically smuggle out, but when the Luminary went to Erasure, there's no reason why they don't have absolutely loads. Tern tells Violet to watch her words, because Sigale is just hiding behind... not that she'd be very effective at hiding. She's massive, but she's just kind of waiting outside. It's the same thing that Sigale said to Violet at the end of Iron Flame when Xaden channeled. She said, like, be careful of your words or something. And Tern just said the same thing to Violet, blaming Sigale. And it feels like there's some... Obviously, Sigale is really pissed off with Xaden still for being Venin. She's not abandoned him. She's still with him.
Yes.
But why is Tern telling Violet to watch her words because of Sigale?
I didn't know how to take it, to be honest. Obviously, Xaden, he didn't want to do it. But in the end, he said that he had no regrets about it because... For him, at that moment, it was the only solution.
Yeah, but does Sigale sense when he channels or not? Does she just not know? I don't know. We've just spent most of this episode confused so far. So Violet corrects Courtlyn, saying that... So he had previously said in the other chapter that kill the rider, the dragons will die, because their ultimate aim... apparently, is to kill the dragons. Like you said, everything's against the dragons. Violet corrects him and says that you should know that that doesn't happen very often. Deverelli seems to pride itself on how they haven't hidden history and they know everything. And he was even introduced as the king, the keeper of the knowledge, and how clever they all are. How does he not know that? Is that just not a well-known fact about dragons and riders?
Oh, there's so many things that are like really confusing about Courtlyn because, yes, there's like basic things that he should know. And then other stuff that we'll see in this chapter when he sees the dragon egg,
one thing that he says is like, oh, well, once you see one, you're seeing all of them. There's nothing special. How many people can say they have seen dragon eggs? Because as far as I knew, the dragons, they're born in an area where only dragons can be in the hatching
Maybe
ground.
that's where he's getting his magic from. Maybe he's got a load of old dragon eggs, which is just the same because part of that is what goes into the alloy.
Yes, and again, doesn't mean that some people go to the veil or where the dragons had born,
take the eggs,
take the eggshells, and I'm always thinking this area should be always surrounded by baby dragons, feather tails, and other dragons
who's taking
guarding
them.
the area. So how they can see or how they know dragon eggs? That's just another. I don't know if that's another thing to just spot it. Like, to
is he
think.
one of the first 6 or something? Or is he an ancient? Yeah, is he the ancient?
Yeah.
King? Yeah, he's something, isn't he? And I think possibly he's witnessed a rider dying and the dragon dying. Maybe one of those like 2 documented cases that we know about. And that's the hope, that the 2 documented cases aren't Violet and Xaden and that it's not written after the events.
Yes.
Because it was just in that epigraph, wasn't it?
Yes. But yes, the knowledge about dragons is really poor, which you can understand that, yeah, they're living really far away. They don't have to deal with
But they know about the Irids.
Yes.
So they know some things that Navarre doesn't know, but they don't know others. It's just
I guess
confusing. Chapter 27 must be the most confusing chapter.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's about general knowledge about dragons. They know very well, but they day-to-day living with dragons, like those little details, they have no clue.
Yeah. Courtlyn's face falls, and for the first time since we walked in, he actually looks his age as he glances at Xaden. How old is he?
Yeah, good question.
I mean, he can't be 1,000 because he's not going to look 1,000 years old. But Violet doesn't know. But what age is she saying? Because she doesn't know how old. She just says, I was expecting him to be older.
See, maybe it's supposed to be the same age as the Carros or something
Maybe
like that.
like 50s.
50s, yes.
But how? Like, how does she know? If it's in her dad's book, what did he say? Because she just said, I assumed he would be older. And she didn't know.
It's interesting because this is the second time that I remember there's a reference about somebody that looks older than it should be. And
Looks
it's people...
younger.
No, older.
Oh.
I'm talking about Brennan, because Brennan, there was a moment when he was having like a really difficult meeting with the scenario, and then he was going out. Violet says that he looks like he be aged like 5 years or something like this. So it looks like older. And even I was speculating, oh, maybe he's running out of magic and then it's going like older or something. So with this one as well is...
Yeah, but this is the other way around.
Well, he looks older as well. That's
he looks his age. But normally he looks younger.
Yes.
So he doesn't look older than he normally does. He just doesn't look as young.
What he's supposed to be.
Oh my goodness. Why are we so confused by this chapter? So let's get to the most important bit. Violet trades Andarna's egg for access to Deverelli on the missions. That's it. Just access to Takaris' strip of land, not even the island.
Yes, access and to forgive everything that Halden did, and obviously what Xaden has done as well.
Well,
so
yeah.
It's just like, okay, we forget about everything happened.
But it wasn't actually the dragon egg that did that. It was her threatening, or her kind of saying, you don't want to look weak, do you? You don't want like rumours to spread that 12 of your army was killed by a rider when there was actually no magic. So that was the only thing that was agreed with that. The rest of it was just the same deal that Holden tried to make. And do we think she has given away more than she realizes by trading this rarest dragon egg. I 100% do. That dragon egg contains magic long after the dragon has hatched. We know it still has magic because Violet gets kind of a bit of a buzz and a hum from it. I don't know what that is about, but this is going to come back to haunt her, surely.
Yes, there's something about the eggshell. When Violet says that belongs to Andarna, that she's an Irid, I think the word that she says is the Courtlyn's face just pops out or something. So he's really surprised or he's just shocked again. And he was like, yes. So really excited about it. And I didn't know how to take that because it's just because it's something really rare and maybe he likes overly collect rare things. Or it's because he knows something about dragon eggs that we don't know. And that's why he said, when you see one dragon egg, you've seen it all. So he's not surprised about it.
But then all of a sudden, he's excited.
Dragon
yeah,
egg,
this is a nightmare. What on earth was she thinking? I think this is bad news.
Yes, I don't want to think that the dragon egg is still connected somehow to Andarna. And now that this Courtlyn has the egg, somehow is going to have access to Andarna's power or...
Oh, yeah, that would be bad.
Yes.
That would be really bad. I think generally, trading, because when they talk about runes and trading runes and that being kind of a magic trade that nobody even wants to think about, eggshells are magic.
Mm-hmm.
She's just trading magic. It's such a bad idea. Right. So I would like to talk about the colour of the dragon egg.
Yes. Another thing to be confused.
We think we've got ideas about this. So, the front cover of Onyx Storm, which we have behind us, if you're listening, it doesn't help, but I'm sure by now you've seen the cover.
Yeah.
It is kind of black at the top and it fades to silver. Obviously, there's some connection to Violet's hair here, but it's flipped round. So it's like an upside down Onyx Storm book, the egg. So silver at the top and black at the bottom. It's the opposite way around. It's like upside down book. Violet's hair or upside down book. It says the darkest onyx on the bottom to the brightest silvers on top.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously just thought this was a foregone conclusion. Andarna was obviously going to be Violet's egg because it's silver to black, etc.
Mm-hmm.
There was an amazing theory on Reddit. I'm going to read it because I want to get this right. The theory was from Reddit user PrizeWash2562. And they said, I don't feel like this is coincidental, given Xaden is known as Onyx and Violet is known as Silver. But I'm not sure what this could mean, besides emphasizing how they're both equally important to this fight and that they were both created for this fight. I think it's foreshadowing how they are the key to something bigger together, and that maybe Andarna didn't just wait 600 years for Violet, but for Violet and Xaden together. And then occasional _ idea added, Andarna also shared in Iron Flame that she hatched during Violet's 18th summer, which would be when Xaden was entering the quadrant. So, this is first and foremost a romance book, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fantasy, but Rebecca Yarros is a romance author.
Yes.
The key to this all is Violet and Xaden. And I wonder if the egg is a reflection of that. And that we've got the onyx and the silver, and it's how they come together.
Yeah.
And ultimately trigger peace. Because so I'm gonna build on the theory from those Reddit users, where essentially the dragon's egg represents Violet and Xaden, and their relationship symbolizing the end to this war. Andarna was the criterion for the Irids. Mm-hmm. She was supposed to hatch when humans were worthy. The reason that humans are now worthy is because we have Violet, who is in love with the Venin. She does not want to fight. She wants to unify not only Poor Emil and Navarre, but she wants to find a cure for the Venin. She's not trying to eradicate them all. She's trying to find a cure. Obviously, she's trying to find a cure for Xaden. But if you've got a cure for Xaden, why haven't you got a cure for everyone else? So I think the colouring of this egg absolutely means half Xaden and half Violet, because it just shows how important they both are in ending this fight.
Yes, it's really interesting theory, because for me it's been always a link when Andarna hatch Violet as well. But I always was thinking more about Daddy Sorrengail, because basically he dies that year, and that year a lot of things happens. So obviously he dies. Xaden goes to the Rider Squadron. Violet is 18. So I never thought about like Xaden turning into a rider could be something that would trigger a lot of stuff on this, because they're two more powerful riders. And Xaden being a marked one, and nobody thought that he would make it. That was like one of the reasons that he went to the Rider Squadron. Maybe by the time when he born with a girl, this was just like the little butterfly effect. Then one thing comes to another one. And then when we have all of this, and maybe we'll find out later on that Violet and Xaden, they are the key of the reason to finish everything. Like the war.
Yeah, and I think that will have been known by somebody. So Dune, we know that the high priestesses of Dune, they kind of, it seems like they just take some drugs and they see an oracle and they see some visions.
Yes.
But I think this will have been seen. I genuinely believe Lilith knows more about Violet's future than Daddy Sorrengail did. That's why she put her in the Rider Squadron. I also think we have to come back to the assumption that that Lilith agreed to this deal because she thought that they weren't going to make it. I don't think that's true anymore. I think we know enough about Lilith now. She knew what was going on. Theophany was fighting with her. The question is, why did she bring Fen Ryerson in? That's the bit that we still don't understand. If she genuinely she knew this was all happening. I know she was trying to protect her children, and she thought they were better protected beyond the wards. But I think there's far more to it than that. And I think the deal that she did with Xaden Ryerson wasn't necessarily because she thought they had no hope. It was probably because she believed he had all the hope.
Yes. Something that I would love to know is what triggered for Lilith to push Violet to be a rider exactly 6 months before. Because Daddy Sorrengail died when Violet was 18. He was always opposite to Violet become a rider. He wants Violet to become a scribe. So if he was maybe the obstacle for Violet to turn into a rider, why she just straight away or next year started with the training for Violet so she had more chances to survive the parapet, the gauntlet, all that kind of stuff. But she waited 6 months before to tell to Violet, you're not going to be a scribe, you're going to be a rider.
I think she saw something. I think she saw it's like a vision of the future, like via one of these Dune oracles.
Yeah, we were assuming that was because Markhan will figure out the Violet, and she will be like the next scribe, superstar and everything. And then when Violet found out the truth and she doesn't want to be part of that, she will die. And maybe that was one of the reasons that his dad died. So far we've seen that it's just the heart that fell. But we're seeing as well that when somebody's doing something dodgy, that person dies.
Yeah, but
with Markhan, that happened already with a cadet.
Yeah, and we've already suspected that Daddy Sorrengail had some access to magic with the runes on the research. Yes. Somebody commented the other day on one of our reels to say, wonder if that's why his heart did actually give out, because he was being exposed to loads of magic and he wasn't actually ready for it. He wasn't trained for it. And I've got more suspicions of Daddy Sorrengail having access to a particular type of magic to talk about This is where we find out the egg still has some magic. And I run my finger along the inner edge, picturing her biding her time for hundreds of years, listening, waiting. A charge of energy runs up my arms and I lift my brows at the sensation. What is that all about?
Yes, so obviously the egg, even after more than 600 years, is still charged with magic.
Yeah.
Had a lot of power. That much that even she felt it. She felt like something.
It could be
powerful.
because they are connected and it's her dragon's egg, but it worries me. It really worries me. What's he going to do with all this magic?
Yes. Definitely this will come back some point, either next book or in the last one.
Yeah. He won't necessarily use it himself because we know that they like to be the middle person. But it's coming back, yeah. Right, so Courtlyn offers another trade, and we've touched on this briefly. So he glances at the egg shell before thinking of Umbriel. So he starts to talk about Umbriel.
Yes.
The link between the dragon's egg and Umbriel is quite stark. At this point, we haven't yet found out that Umbriel was the army behind the trade that fell through and ended the second Courtlyn uprising. So that was a bit of foreshadowing, I think, for later when we find all of that out. But we find out in the next chapter that final deal. So the chapter ends on kind of, I've got another deal for you. And Violet says, I'm listening. And that's how the chapter ends.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 28.
Epigraph.
There are times I look at the parapet, at the very act of threshing, and marvel that dragons have not been to Umbriel. What we call treacherous is their idea of primary school. Umbriel, Isle of Doon, by 2nd Lieutenant Asher Daxton. So, we've got some link here between Umbriel and Basgaeth. And I wonder if there's some connection there. Is that where, like, Aaron Norris or whatever, they came from to establish... It's not Aaron Norris, is it? Because he's the one that built Basgaeth. And he didn't build it as well as Umbriel, because they've even got, like, people hiding in the walls. But where did they get the ideas from? And it sounds like they must have got some of the ideas from Umbriel.
Yes. I mean, we will find out when we start to see that some of the symbols are similar to the ones in Navarre. So obviously there's like an origin from everything. So because in Umbriel is the Isle of Doon, and then it's from everything related to Doon starts. So we're thinking that from there it spreads to the rest of the world, I guess. Even that includes the continent, and this include religion, all the customs, maybe some of the technology, some of the structures or some stuff.
Maybe, or maybe it was the other way around, and it started on the continent and the gods were driven out. Maybe something happened where the gods, other than Amari and Malak, where Malak seems to have stayed round the Barrens and the Bay of Malak, and the continent is known to everyone else as Amoralis because it's Amari's continent. What if there was a big war between the gods and Malak and Amari were the only two that remained and they forced the others out and Doon ended up on the Isle of Umbriel?
The only thing we'll say as well is that maybe gods don't like magic because all the islands are dedicated for the gods. They had no magic at all, at least not in the ground.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something between gods and magic. They're not compatible.
Yeah, that would be odd, but yeah, maybe.
I mean, because if I remember the words of Theophany, she said, why I want to pray a god when I can turn in one? And she needs magic, she needs power for that. So maybe the gods are in a place when they know no mortal, it will turn into somebody powerful because there's no magic to fuel that.
There's definitely a link between Umbriel and Basgaeth. And I wonder if possibly even dragons were there hundreds of years ago as well, because they want the eggs. Is that because they see them as rightfully theirs, or they want... I guess we find out that Dune has a talon on her symbol. There's obviously some connection to dragons there, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And Umbriel don't have that anymore. They wanted the eggs in the second Croveland uprising. They want them now. So there's definitely a link there. And I wonder, maybe that could be one of the reasons why Asher Daxton went there so early on in his career. He was like 23, wasn't he, or something, when he went there. And it could have been to go and bring back more brutal ways of training their riders. Or, they might send scribes on those types of learning trips where they can bring back things to make Basgiath much more harrowing than it needs to be.
We don't know how long has been this test, like the parapet, the gauntlet, if they started right from the beginning when Basgiath was found, like 650 years ago. Yeah. Or it's recent when they start to see the Venin start to rise again, and they're taking flyers. They are failing. Well, they're not flyers. They're cadets to be flyers. But we don't know. And I think as well, this issue with the Umbriel and the dragon eggs, that's just another proof. The dragons, they used to channel from the sky because they know stuff about dragons. So if a dragon channeled from the ground, it would be something normal 650 years ago. And they know that if they take a dragon out of the source, it will die. So they wouldn't be asking for dragons because they will think, well, if the dragons are out of the magic source, there's the ground, they won't survive in this island.
No, I think they know more about the Irids, and I think they know that probably dragons are malleable at that age, and if dragons are born outside the continent, then they wouldn't rely on the magic from the ground. I think they would access magic from the sky.
Maybe magic, it turns into like an addiction, that once you are so deep on that, you just can't live without it.
I think that's
because
clear.
That's exactly what happens when they're out of the island.
And it's what happens to Venin. If you look at Jack Barlow, he is like a drug addict, isn't he?
Yeah, just looking for anything.
Yeah. So anyway, we are back at Basgiath in chapter 28, and the Signet flyers have finally arrived. And I am still so suspicious of them. Where have they been?
Yeah, it's a massive delay, isn't it?
Yeah, my theory is that the Signet flyers are somehow in with the Venin. I think it's up at the top. Nobody's really paying much attention to them. It's very, very close to Navarre. Where have they been this whole time? They've just been delaying.
Yes, preparing for something. Now they're going to Basgiath. And if they go into second wing, even more suspicious.
Yeah, well, they have to even
so
it
not
out.
the majority, probably. Because for wing, I think, completely. It's just the other wings.
Yeah, they had to even them out, so the Signet flyers went there. Let's hope it's not Riddick's new boyfriend. And that's so funny, that part.
Hello, Signet.
Yeah, I don't fuck first years. Second year. Yeah. He says I don't fuck second years.
Second thing that I fuck like a one.
Like a third. Just when you said 30 seconds ago that maybe magic is like a drug, and we were like, well, yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Cue Violet needing to crack the archives door open a little bit because she's feeling so tired. They've just got back. She's feeling really, really tired, and she says she cracks the archives door open to power in the hopes that it will keep her awake. She is literally using it as caffeine there.
Yes.
Which is probably the most prevalent drug that most people are addicted to.
Yeah, for me it was so weird when I was reading this because it gave me just the view. So these movies when they're with traders, they need a lot of energy, and the first thing they do in the morning before they start calling stuff is just cocaine.
A line of coke.
And then, no. Let's do this.
That's what she's doing with the power.
How it feels. Like Violet is just like, I just want to get a little bit more.
That's
feels
the
good
thing,
being
though.
me again.
That's the thing, though. It's the riders. So everybody's being corrupted by magic. And I can't. Nobody can convince me that this book won't end with nobody having access to magic anymore.
I see it really difficult not to see it end in this way because it's just like every single step is just going to that direction.
Cold turkey. Everyone needs to go cold turkey without magic.
Yes.
This is where we learn about the deal that Courtlyn posed right at the very end of the last chapter. Mm-hmm. So he wants essentially the same thing as Takaris, but he wants Violet and Xaden to be his kind of personal bodyguards in exchange for weapons. Number one, I feel like Navarre have enough weapons. They've got a forge. They've got them all over. They've got Tyrandor, which has Palladium, which is part of the alloy. Mm-hmm. Why do they want weapons from them? There's nothing in that for Violet and Xaden. Kat thinks this is weird. Kat thinks that why on earth would he want Violet if they don't have access to magic? Because with magic, she's really scary. Without magic, Kat says she's not. Mm-hmm. This, to me, suggests, like, he must have magic. This is another tick in the box that Courtlyn has access to magic, and he has access to magic for Violet.
Yes.
But I think it's all a ruse to get her to turn Venin anyway. I think it's all a secret plot to get Violet to turn Venin. And I do think if Violet isn't already Venin by the end of this book, mm-hmm. which I suspect she might be.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. Maybe one of the ways that all of this finishes with Violet turning into a Venin, and then just...
I think she's already Venin.
You think she channeled already?
I think by the end of Onyx Storm, I think that's what... sorry, I'm just landing this on you from absolutely nowhere. I think that's one of the reasons why Imogen wiped her memories, because then hopefully she doesn't think she's done it, so she doesn't have the feeling that she needs to carry on doing it.
Yeah, forget the hunger.
Yeah, Andarna, it's just that Andarna says, I won't let them burn you.
Yeah, interesting. Because really you think about they had a plan, Xaden and Violet, and it's so good, it's so complex that they need to just get rid of evidence, and one of them is Violet's memory. But that could be like another good reason, and maybe as well cure for somebody that had channeled by mistake.
The reason I think she might already be Venin is because Rebecca Yarros always said
that she wanted Violet to be the first one. Yeah.
So either the story's fundamentally changed, or it just happened later.
Actually, yes, because I remember with Xaden, when after he channeled, Violet described that, she can see like the little red, but it's not that visible. Yeah. It's just like a little bit.
And then it fades.
Yes, and then Xaden, and in the beginning of Onyx Storm, there's just like the next day after the battle, he's just hiding or looking at everyone, but I think by that time maybe it will fade.
Also, we need to read this bit again before I go fully down this rabbit hole. But like, I'm pretty sure that Brennan, when he looks at Violet, he's like, eyes look surprised or something. Yeah. I don't know. Is that because he's noticing her eyes have a little bit of red around them? Or because he's Venin and he senses her? I don't know. Too much.
He's
sorry.
a Maven.
Yeah. No, I there's a strong likelihood that Violet might have channeled. But then everyone's focused on the brother because that's the red herring that Rebecca Yarros has put in.
Yeah.
And actually, Violet channeled. So Violet thinks that she secured Courtlyn's silence over the fact that Xaden channeled and that Xaden is Venin. All because he doesn't want to embarrass himself and he doesn't want people to think that they're weak. Mm-hmm. If he is Venin, if Courtlyn is Venin, then he already knew that Xaden was Venin. Yeah. And he hasn't told anyone. Just like Takaris. if he isn't Venin and he didn't know that Xaden was Venin, do we trust him? How could Violet have just flown away thinking, that won't come back? She's left a dragon's egg with him, which is physically like making me feel anxious. We've got a long time to wait for book 4, and that is going to be the biggest worry for me.
Yes.
But also, I'm not sure I trust him.
When Violet was talking about how the culture works and deals and everything to Xaden, I think one of the things that even Tekaro said, they don't make deals that you're not willing to fulfill. So keeping Xaden away from any kind of problems was one of the deals to get the eggshell. If he accepts the eggshell, I think by word he is forced to keep his word and keep Xaden safe at least.
Yeah, but there's something, because Holden doesn't think he's kept his word for all those artifacts that he's got. Something going on with Courtlyn. He's not. I don't think he's an honest broker. Yeah, but I trust Holden more than I trust Courtlyn.
I trust more Courtlyn in this case than Holden. Yes, because Holden in the end, he's just a spoiled prince. Courtlyn, he was saying that they belonged to him because it was like an agreement for a payment.
But you don't know what it was for.
Yeah, but I don't know. Generally, I don't believe that Holden was
I think Courtlyn,
right,
like the fact that Courtlyn is not who he says he is. He looks a lot younger than he should be.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. There's something.
So much going on around him that I don't trust. I think Holden's an idiot. I think he's like got quite a sheltered view of the world. He's self-entitled.
He's a spoiled prince.
Yeah, he's a spoiled prince, but ultimately, like, that's it. He's been raised by his dad also, who's like the mastermind behind. Well, maybe he's not the mastermind, but he's a tyrant king, isn't he? How he's like keeping all his.
Well, he's just keeping basically the family business. They're just covering up everything, and that's been the business for the last 650 years. So he's not the king that made this lie. He's just keeping it. That's the problem, that he, instead to do something like Arik is doing to make the change, he's just keeping everything how it is. But you know, when we say that Courtlyn and Tekaro, they could be Venin, that doesn't mean that just because they are Venin, they are like really good friends and they know everything about each other, because they can be an alliance. But that doesn't mean that...
Well, no, they're not bosom buddies, aren't they? They're not like sharing deep, dark secrets on the pillow talk.
No. Like, yes, he might say something about Violet, that he wants Violet. But this one, he wants Violet and Xaden as well. So maybe he knows something about that.
No, maybe he wants Xaden, but he just is going to give Violet to Takaris. Because Bodhi Berwin. Right, so they're in Battle Breath, and the map shows that the Venin are heading southwest towards Tyrrendor.
Yes.
But conveniently, again, they're missing out Corden. And we know that so Violet suspects that they know that the wards are failing. This is the first note that I had in my Kindle from my first read through. In my first read through, I was like, I'm not taking any notes. I am just going to enjoy it. And I took a note and I'd put in capital letters, Brennan! ! I genuinely thought at this point in the book that Brennan was the one who leaked the information about the failing oration wards.
Yes.
And it still could be, but I think we know at this point now that it's probably Panchek.
Yes. You know, for me, it was exactly the same. First off, Brennan. But when you think about right now, they're having this battle brief in front of everyone. We think second wind, they are really dodgy. So we don't know how many Venin are actually in that class. And they are just there getting information and they passing to other people. So actually, could be Panchek, obviously, or could be any of these cadets.
Did they say that the Eurasian wards were failing? Yeah, well, they did now, didn't they? But before that. Because it does sound...
Violet is having this conversation in front of everyone with the Vera, and then the Vera says, yes, that's exactly what I think. They go into Eurasia because they know the wards are failing.
This is the bit for me that was a bit different in Eurasia when Battle Brief became so transparent. A lot of things were redacted in Battle Brief when they were in Navarre because they are first, second and third year cadets. Mm-hmm. They are not active riders. You wouldn't expect them to have all the information. That is weird. And the fact that they do now because they did in Eurasia, that's weird, isn't it? You don't know how many of them are Venin. I guess if they're initiates, they can't mask it as well. Panchek obviously knows, doesn't he? Something going on. Atos maybe knows. I get the feeling. I don't think Dain's dad is a Venin. I just think he's in with them. He's doing something odd, or I think he's got his own agenda where he's using something to do with the book that comes up in the next chapter, the medicinal uses of Venin. It's some kind of he's dealing in steroids that make people stronger, and he's been experimenting on his own son. No, I think it's Panchek, but you're right, and it does make me feel like maybe they should scale back their openness in Battle Brief because they are still ultimately cadets. I know that they're basically on the front line now, but they're still cadets. They shouldn't know everything. Yes. And now you've got Signy riders in there that we do not trust.
And as well, you don't know exactly who could be a Venin. We have Xaden, there's around. Nobody's suspecting about him. How many others are like Xaden? The channel for power, and the Sage is telling you, okay, you're not allowed to channel anymore because if you channel, you will change. And for me, it's convenient that you look human at the moment. So you gather all information from... Yeah,
but does everyone have as much control? Jack certainly doesn't.
I think maybe if your Sage is telling you, you're allowed to channel, but just, giving you, a plan, you know? Like when you're on a diet. So you don't change completely.
The thing that gets me is that Jack channeled a few times, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And he still didn't progress to Asim.
He's an Asim now.
He is now, but it's taken him ages. Xaden's channeled what, 3 or 4 times? And he seems to progress a lot quicker than Jack did.
Yeah, well, and the third time, I think, is when the golden flecks now are amber.
Already?
So, yeah.
But that didn't happen to Jack. Why did it take Jack longer than Xaden? Is that just story pacing to get the story moving along?
Yeah. So
or is there a good reason?
Maybe it's the dragon as well, because you had a mark, and the bigger the mark, the more channel goes to you. So I think maybe because he gets to Sagel. Sagel is quite big dragon. He can storage more magic. So when he's taking the power from the ground, he takes more.
And he does make that big mushroom cloud.
Yeah, in the end. But Jack, he has a small dragon.
And probably an itty bitty signet.
Yeah, we still don't know. But we might get a surprise. He's still alive for some reason.
You think it's power and you think he's Violet's balance. But I think since we said that, remembered that Theophany said she doesn't have a
Violet
balance.
Is unique.
Yeah. I think his signet's probably more to do with pain projection.
I don't know, because Violet word he was passing power through my body. He wasn't taking it. He was just putting power and not pain. Power.
Yeah,
and the
but
power
it caused her pain.
Yes.
I don't know. We find out that it takes Dain and Violet 2 days to collectively solve the
6 stones with a password.
6 passwords for Daddy Sorrengail's research. I feel robbed. I wanted the clues. I wanted to try and solve it myself.
Yes. It would be good if she just put what was the notes,
The
the Daddy
key.
Sorrengail, and you don't have to spend like full chapters trying to.
Maybe we should ask
say
her
it.
what they were to do the riddles, because we really want them.
A POV or Dainatos and Violet getting.
No, just she can post them on Instagram for prizes. I don't know. Just to give us something to do.
A game.
Yeah, maybe we can think of some.
Yes.
I want to make some
Okay.
for people to solve. Right, so the squad are reading books. I think now we have a bit of a change of scene. Did we go down to the signet sparring?
We are in the signet sparring
Class
while
now.
we are reading as well.
Yeah, okay. So somebody is reading the continent's most redacted volume of Umbriel's warlike customs. Why is it redacted? Is that because that's where Basgaia stole all their ideas from? For how to test the riders? Feels like that is where it is. Where they got the ideas from. Bodhi is reading a collection of Breivik fables. Right.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to add another tick in the box of why I think Bodhi is the brother that turned. I think he got ideas. He read this book. He read this fable book, and possibly it talked more about demon dragons. Possibly it talked about the amount of power that the Venin could take. And he thought, yeah, I need some of that. I need some power. I'm not powerful enough. And he channeled.
Yeah. I mean, he saw the possibilities, what you can become.
Yeah. And if you think about where Breivik province is, it's right on the border of the Venin. So their fables will be the best ones. Their fables will be the juicy ones, because they're not actually fables, are they? They're just like real life stories.
Yes.
People have been like, oh yeah, that's a myth.
Yes. The thing that caught my attention when Bodhi was reading this specific book was because Violet says that he's just looking for anything, like whether they have been called for love. And for me, it's just like, maybe this is the foreshadowing that we're looking for. That you just came back to where you were before, or maybe you're not go that deep as a Venin when you're doing for love.
Does it specifically say love?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
For me, it was really like, oh, it's Violet, the one saying that it's Bodhi looking for something like this. But come on, it's coming from
Yeah,
Rebecca
and the
Jarros.
key's got to be on Loyalsome, the Isle of Loyal.
Yes.
Got to be, hasn't it? Like, how convenient they didn't make it to that one.
Yes. Loyal is the other one that you can be dedicated, isn't
Yeah.
it? So if maybe you're a Venin and you dedicate for Loyal,
Yeah.
then you're cured for love.
And you know why only Dune and Loyal require a lifetime of dedication? There's an epigraph later in the book, and it says, only Dune and Loyal require a lifetime of dedication because war and love change souls irrevocably.
Yes.
So if your soul, like, it's to do with Venin and love, isn't it?
Yes.
And that makes me wonder whether Umbriel is the start of the Venin, because Dune was the one that actually started it. Because if you think about the silver and the like draining of colour and stuff, that possibly does link more to Venin. Although the High Priestess in Navarre, in their temple, she seems like quite decent, doesn't she? She's fighting against them, and yeah.
Yes. But we might have found out the solution, the definite solution for the Venin. Just dedicate yourself to Loyal. Your soul will maybe restore or change for love.
Fall in love. But then it says, doesn't Theophany say that Venin can't feel love?
But Xaden, even after being a saint, he still caring about Sorrengail. He still caring about Violet.
Yeah.
How he can do that?
Yeah, he can't. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same for Xaden.
No.
How many other Venin have changed for love? That's my question. I think just the other book might be worth mentioning, and I'm getting bored of them. Rhiannon is reading a book on weather patterns again.
Something about the weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's just like nothing important to you think it's going to change the whole plot. Or
no, but it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a passage in here that made me laugh. It said, "For all we're reading, I can't even imagine," what I'm paraphrasing, "I can't even begin to think of how much Jacinia is having to read." And I was like, did Jacinia just write this in because she wanted the reader to not forget about her and how much work she was doing? And she was like, look how hard these guys are working, but actually I'm working my tits off in here reading all of these books. It made me feel like a breaking of the fourth wall of the actual writer. She transcribed this and she was like, don't forget about me, I'm working harder than these guys. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Also, Jacinia is quite clearly reading quite a lot of the ones where the epigraphs are from, and she's like sticking them in.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to get a download of everything she's learned at some point? Because she's writing, she knows so much more than she's letting on.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, because you absolutely did not trust Jacinia at the end of Iron Flame. Do you trust her anymore now? Do you think we've got a reliable narrator?
Is the part when Daddy Sorrengail says to Violet, pay attention to the one who's telling the story. So obviously with all the stuff that we know about Jacinia, yes, I would like to think that there's nothing dodgy about her. But that is just like, don't believe what I'm saying after this. So I'm keeping my eyes on her and my rereadings and trying to see if I can find something about Jacinia as well, something that gives me, I don't know, clues or something that made me like click what she is doing or what's going to happen.
What she's not saying, I think, is the big thing.
Yes.
Violet is thinking about the books that her dad has written, and she notes that there's a really big difference between the one that he wrote on Umbriel when he was 23 and the one he wrote on the Second Crovelish Uprising, which was really recent. She says the one around Umbriel, it's sharp and clinical, but it lacks the usual insight, like he was distracted or something, possibly thinking about if he was 23... would Lilith have been pregnant at that point? Would she have given birth? No, because they're only just out the Riders Quadrant.
We don't know the difference in age.
Yeah, we don't know the age difference. This is the other thing. We fell foul of this with Holden.
He's younger. If
and
he's
his
older,
brother.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah, I just assumed they're the same, but not necessarily. But anyway, I suspect that she wasn't. It was earlier than that. But he was obviously distracted by something. This is the first time of many. She questions this like 5 or 6 times in the next group of chapters. How he had the time to write all this stuff. I have a crackpot theory.
Okay.
I think Daddy Sorrengail was able to manipulate time somehow, and I think it's linked to Andarna.
Okay.
So every time, and I'm going to call this out in the next few episodes, and there's another couple even in this set of chapters, she's like, how did he have the time? Even when she's talking to Mira in the next chapter about what Grandma Niara said, she was like, did she know that he was writing these books? Did she know how he had the time to do this? Where did he find the time? And there must be 5 or 6 references to how did he find the time. And what do we know about Andarna? She's just hanging around in an egg for 650 years, biding her time. She's obviously able to manipulate time. Her gift as a feathertail was to slow down time. Did Daddy Sorrengail find a way linked to Andarna to give himself more time? You would think that if he could, he would have done that at the end, because Lilith Sorrengail says, you left too soon. And you'd think he would find a way to continue doing that. But what if he couldn't after Andarna hatched? Because at that point, Andarna had already hatched. He had no access to the egg. Well, this is assuming he had access to the egg.
Yeah.
But why would she keep asking, how did he have the time? When did he find the time? If there was nothing that significant about time.
Yeah. It's really interesting because obviously now I think it's both of us, we're getting kind of like a conclusion that Daddy Sorrengail
Had
had
some
magic
access to magic.
Yes. So you're saying that he was somehow linking to Andarna. And for me, I said last week that I think he was maybe born to a dragon. So he wasn't a dragon rider, but he was born to a dragon.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how he was traveling across the islands.
Isn't it funny how we have suspected that everyone and their dog is Venin? But we never suspect Daddy Sorrengail turned Venin. Just not a sneaky bit of power to manipulate time. Didn't just like sneak a little bit. Because he was learning a lot. There's nothing to say that he didn't learn how to do it without having channeled a dragon. Like, but I'm sorry, I know this is bonkers and everyone's going to be like, oh, they think everyone's a Venin. Because we do and then we don't. And then we, but we're trying to find reasons why Daddy Sorrengail is such a good person. I do believe he's dead. I don't believe he's coming back.
Yeah, that's the only character that I think, and that's definitely dead, like dead. No, like with the other ones, I think Lilith Sorrengail, she will back.
I think you're
Burton, she will back.
You're a ridiculous person for thinking Lilith is coming back.
Yeah.
No author would ever bring the mum back. It's such a painful loss. Once you've done that, you've done that. That's what I think about the mum. I don't think Daddy Sorrengail. I think you could get like a Dumbledore moment. Harry Potter spoiler alert. And you could get a Dumbledore moment where you meet Malik and she gets a conversation with them, or I feel like that's not really Fourth Wing vibes, but you could. But yeah, I think Daddy Sorrengail could do something with time.
Yeah, because clear is there's a mention about how he managed to do all this research, because going from island to island, that takes time. And it seems that he was always at home, or he wasn't like lost for a very long time. So either he was a distance wielder.
No, he wasn't a distance wielder.
Flying in a dragon or something, but like time wasn't an issue for him.
Yeah.
Then we had the research with a rune. And a rune normally is done with magic, and normally it's either you are a flyer or a rider. It would have had
to. The only other explanation is that Lilith did it, isn't it? Because she was the only other person that he trusted.
First, you need to learn it from somebody.
I don't see why she wouldn't have done. Because runes just aren't taught at Basgiath. They are a thing because of the mage lights and the. It's just that they're not taught, but they might be taught when you are like past this level.
Yeah,
people still need to know them.
The interesting part for me is that it seems that was the people from Tyrrendor, the one they kick on with the runes. But for Daddy Sorrengail maybe to learn that, if he was traveling to Tyrrendor and then maybe teaching to Lilith, or Lily going to Tyrrendor and then learning from that, it's just, I don't know.
I don't know. There might be people that can teach it around Navarre. So it's not only taught in Tyrrendor, because the mage lights and the like things around Basgiath that channel magic, that pick up residual magic in the air. I'm pretty sure in Iron Flame they say it's just a banned subject but it's just not taught at Basgiath. It doesn't mean it's not taught later by people that they trust.
And to be honest, we still don't know even what the rune means. We just assume there's a destructive rune.
Self-destruct.
But it's not being confirmed.
I think Violet says it looks suspiciously like the one that would destroy everything.
No, Rihanna says that it might have not enough power to destroy, and Violet said, I need to learn more about runes. So she doesn't know.
Another book that we get, which is just like, either this is really important or Rebecca Yarros is 100% trolling us. Quinn is reading a book from Queen Mariah's secret library, Venin and their medicinal uses.
Mm-hmm.
1, uses, plural.
Yes.
Like, more than one use.
Yeah.
More than one medicinal use. 2, there's got to be loads, otherwise you wouldn't write a book about it. Like, it's not just 2 uses, is it? Like, anesthetic and, I don't know, something else. Like, antiseptic, antibiotic. Like, what are the medicinal uses of a venin?
And how? Is it maybe with the blood? Is it maybe you make the venin do something? Like
More blood magic, yeah.
Yeah. But has to be something really important. Like we are speculating before, maybe this is the origin about second winged and like kind of like super soldiers or creating superhumans with venom, blood or venom power.
Yeah, and Dain is not a venin, but it has somehow got some venom power, and that's why Cat's breath's stinky.
Well, I remember one of the first things that they said out about Cat as they channel a lot of power, and that's one of the reasons that maybe they have this much power.
Well, yeah.
But the venom side as well, that could be like a plus.
Yeah, but like, Quinn is reading this and she's not like, guys, we've just learned something amazing. Guys, Violet, come here. This is really important. Yeah. How is she? So, and now Quinn's dead. So hopefully they've still got a copy of that book and they can read it again.
Yes. I mean, Queen Mariah dies as well. What happened with the books? It will go just to Takaros, I guess.
Yeah, but it'll be fine because Takaros is letting Violet learn all about Venin. Mm-hmm. He doesn't see this as being a big issue because he wants it to be Venin at some point. That book was not just put in there by accident, I'm sure. I just wish Quinn had given somebody... Hopefully she told Imogen all the stuff that she learned and Imogen knows.
Maybe she didn't even read it. She was just projecting someone else and just pretending that she was reading.
The book's upside down.
Yeah, that's why she never say anything.
That's amazing. Talking about Quinn projecting, I just want to say this. Kelly, one of our lightning wielders, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but her husband is currently reading the Empyrean series. Yeah. And when he got to the bit where Liam showed up in the interrogation room as like a projection of Liam,
Violet,
he was like, so that's Quinn, obviously. It blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, was it? I had to read it again. Yeah. I think I decided that it's not Quinn, but it's such an amazing thought that was like he just thought that was obvious.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But I saw the interview, Rebecca Yarros saying that was just Violet creating like something to cope with all the torture.
I think it was Malik doing her a kindness.
Well, yeah.
We don't believe anything that Rebecca currently says, do we? I mean, she's amazing. We love her, but she's not going to tell us.
She needs to keep the plot.
Yeah, and I don't want her to. I don't want her to tell us everything because I can't wait. I want to read it, and I want to read it like well thought out and like.
Well, that's the job of a good author. They just deceive you. You have no clue. They plan like recurrence and clues. They're taking you to nowhere. And then when you're expecting, boom, that real plot twist.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I don't want any more clues from Rebecca. I just want to wait and read it. That's a lie. I want all the clues. I'm going to read everything, obviously.
So, something interesting when they're reading here, Violet just call Bodhi. Say, Bodhi, why is your second signet? You know, like this
casual conversation.
Or something. Yeah, she was obviously bored. And Bodhi is like looking first Garrick, I think. And he says, no second signet. And then Violet's like, yeah, but like you had no a second signet, then later on I will see you wielding, or you had no second signet, no have second signet. And then he smiled and he said, I had no a second signet. So basically he's saying the first line that Violet says that he doesn't have one, but later on she will see him wielding a second signet. So for me, I took that as a yes. He has one, but he doesn't want to say it.
I'm taking this on face value and chalking another tick in the box of why Bodhi is the Venin brother. That's 2 ticks in this episode alone. That I don't think he has a second signet. He's not good enough. He's not the same as Xaden. Nothing's ever good enough. He's the one that. And like this is me saying I don't want any extra clues, and I'm hanging on to this one. That Rebecca says, pay attention to people to who's missing at the end, and who feels like nothing they ever do is good enough.
Yeah,
and I think this is another one. Bodhi doesn't have a second signet. If he does, it has to be an intrinsic one, I think. And he's not even told Xaden. He's not even told anyone, just like Xaden hasn't told Bodhi.
That sentence that says there is really suspicious as well, because he says, I have no second signet. It says that Xaden.
Just like Xaden, yeah.
So it's like, it's intrinsic as well.
Yeah. No, I don't think he has a second signet. Womp womp.
Well, the next sentence, I think that he said that if he shows the second signet, then he's allowed to go to the squad
Yeah,
quest.
he doesn't go, does he?
No, he doesn't.
We need to take Garrick. Right, we get a really good interaction between Dain and Sloane here. And everyone's asking, like, not everyone, I think 99% of the fans, like, see that Dain and Sloane are going to end up together. There's like 1% of people being like, I don't see any evidence for this, like, people are just getting carried away. There is massive evidence in this chapter.
Yeah.
So Dain pushes Sloane to train her signet. One, he says, I don't coddle first years anymore. You just need to get on and do it. The fact that he says he doesn't coddle them anymore is like he's taken a leaf out of the Xaden Ryerson Wing Leader training book. Yeah. He realizes that lost him his best friend, and that half of the problems he has now are down to how he acted in his second year and pushing Violet away because he was trying to coddle her and he was trying to keep her safe. He's learned his lesson from that, and he is not going to do that again. He basically says that Liam's death is on his hands and he won't put Sloane's. But then the really good bit comes. Sloane's cheeks go red. Like, obviously she's into him. And Violet lifts her brows at the look that she gives Dain. And she says, I can't tell if she wants to stab him or... And then Garrick goes, fuck. And if you read that sentence just like that, it's so obvious, isn't it? That, like, she can't tell if she wants to stab him or fuck. That's so funny. Like, I can't believe anyone would think that there was a different outcome for Dain and Sloane.
No, this is probably maybe the first clue that we had that something is going on, maybe in Sloane first, or maybe Dain.
I think both of them.
Yeah, so really Dain is interested on her to be better because it's part of his job as a wing leader, so you can take it that way. But Sloane, she was like flushing, the way that she's looking at him, that even Violet sees like that something happening there.
So there's 2 things here. Like, one, does it show growth in Dain's character that he might actually break a rule because she's in his direct line of command? And 2, there's a lot of people saying that this is history repeating itself. So you've got an enemies to lovers trope, a wing leader and a first year, and you had that with Violet and Xaden, and it's like history repeating itself.
Yes.
I think both of those points are really interesting.
True. Maybe it's like more chemistry between third and first years.
When you believe the death of the brother is related to that person.
Mm-hmm.
So like Violet believed that Xaden's dad killed Brennan.
Mm-hmm.
And Dain has some responsibility for Liam's death.
Yeah.
It's all linked, isn't it?
Yeah. Same story. Different characters.
This is where Loisum comes up. Actually, I think there's a bit of an edit mistake because it's called Loisa in this chapter, but it's Loisum everywhere else. So there's an island called Loisum, which is Loyal's island. It's mentioned as being the furthest away because they're talking about whether they can make it back in time between visits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mentioned also that I think that they are peaceful. Like Loisum is like a peaceful island.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this is where the Irids actually are.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the Irids... You know how we've suspected that the Irids are in the Barrens and nobody goes there?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm erring towards them being on Loisum.
Yeah.
Because that fits, doesn't it, with the way that they are. I feel like there's also magic on Loisum. Because love is also kind of magical.
Yeah. I don't know. Once I found out that, yes, we had Ares and they had like their own island, I thought there would be an island with no humans. It was just dragons because they are quite big and it's not the same keeping all in a continent. Like in Navarre, they keep it in an island. So
might be a big island. Like
England.
it's a tiny island. It's a tiny island that thinks it's big. I am British, so maybe.
It's funny you say so, yeah.
Well, I don't mind anybody saying that. No, I think it's mentioned that they don't have an army. I don't think it's mentioned that they're peaceful, but I think it's mentioned they don't have an army. And maybe they have Irids.
Yeah, it's just because they're so far away that just nobody bothers to go
People
and
are
attack.
terrified. Yeah, maybe. So this is where they're trying to decide whether they should break the rules and not come back. So disobey direct orders and not come back between them. And Andarna says that they will take the Empyrean will support whatever they decide. Is that because Andarna's in the Empyrean now? She speaks for the Empyrean by the sound of it.
Yes, I think maybe it's just because the Empyrean, by now, they're just really willing to fund the 7 10 dragons. They don't care about human
Because
laws.
of the wards.
Yes. So it's a dragon mission, and Violet is the representative of Andarna for the humans. So it's just what Andarna wants, and Violet is the one who is carrying the power and responsibility.
Yeah. It might be that they want to find them to get rid of them.
At the 7 then.
We don't know what the Empyrean are up to. Hedotis comes up as well, and Bodhi cuts her off. That's when he wants to give her the antidote and the serum.
Yeah.
But she says something like, he's worried. He interrupts and he's like, Violet, come here. I think my suspicion is that Bodhi knows that Xaden's mum's on Hedotis. And he cuts off the conversation and he's worried and is like, here's the antidote. Because he knows that something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, it could be because in the end it's part of the family. So I'm guessing that maybe at some point Bodhi knew
Found
that
out,
she was
yeah.
from
Why did
Hedotis.
Xaden not know? That's the question. But
No, I think maybe he knew that she was from there, but the thing that he didn't knew is what happened to her after she left Ryerson House. So maybe he didn't know if she's alive or she just left to go somewhere else.
When we get to that bit, we'll have to see if Xaden has seems to have any kind of like concerns about going to Hedotis, whether he seems a bit off or something. But it seems in this scene, it seems like Bodhi knows because Bodhi cuts off the conversation.
So while Bodhi is talking with Violet, and Violet's like, okay, thanks for this, but I don't think I'm going to use them with Xaden. I just find that you think that you might need it. while this is happening, there's a fight in the mud, and there's a fire wielder, the new wind leader, attacking a cadere. It's a woman that she doesn't want to wield, and this cadere starts to channel it directly from the ground. It's turning into a Venin, and Carl is the one who just rushing to kill the new Venin. Xaden, he was there before. He just went to see there, everything was fine, and then took Gary out. Violet is asking here, well, Xaden was here. Did he maybe sense her, or maybe this...
I think she just did it immediately on the mat, didn't she? It's like the first time.
That's the thing that's still not like really clear. If it's something that they just can do any moment.
Well, Xaden did.
Violet's saying we don't know if it's the first time they're doing it, or if he was like that before. And if Xaden didn't sense, or if he didn't say anything, it's because something had changed. Or
yeah, what the bit I don't get is whether Panchek's going, Car! He's like running towards. Mm-hmm. Is Panchek trying to stop Car from killing her? Or is Panchek trying to cover stuff up and be like, kill her, basically? I think it might be the first one. I think Panchek's like involved with the second wing and is doing loads of stuff. Anyway. Chapter 29. In a culture that worships the goddess of war exclusively, blood is the preferred sacrifice, and cowardice is the ultimate sin. Umbriel, Isle of Doon, by Second Lieutenant Asher Daxton. So again, this is just links to the Riders Quadrant, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Blood is the sacrifice, cowardice is the ultimate sin.
Yeah.
Right, so we have some new squad members. Traeger has joined the squad. He is far more useful, I think, than Amenda in this situation, because he's got lots of medical training, lots of healer training, and Amenda wouldn't have access to magic on the Isles. So actually, you're better off taking a healer, but you can take a healer that can fly. So yeah, I think he's a perfect choice. And obviously, he doesn't make it home, but he also gives Kat a little bit of a
keep her happy during this party, keep her out of Satan's view.
Yeah, we also have Maren. I don't know why Maren is there. Like, Maren flags behind a lot, and we don't know what her signet is. It must be her gift. It must be useful at some point, but we suspected that she can tell what people will become because of the Queen of Tyrrendor comment, but I don't really get why Maren's there. Just making up the numbers.
Well, I think it's all comes to this. I think it's an epigraph as well, when they say that if the team had a really good relationship, everyone cares about everyone. Yeah. You had a really functional team. So Violet knows that Maren has a really good relationship with Kat, and maybe she wants to balance between riders and flyers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking from this, but still a really good question. We don't know Maren's gift.
No. Wait, do we know Maren's gift? Because she went down to didn't she go down to the ward chamber and they tested it to see if she had power?
Yeah, but she was doing laser magic.
Oh, was she just doing laser magic?
Yes. I think she was just like holding a
covering
stone
something.
or something. So, no.
I know what her actual gift was.
No.
That's annoying.
Yeah, like you say, we have like a new squad that's coming for this new mission. We have Holden again. He's coming back. We had Mira that she's like really not talking with Violet at the moment. You can tell that right now in this moment, there's still like a friction between Mira.
That's because she thinks she's going to turn Venin. She's literally been told she's going to turn Venin. We don't know that right now.
I wasn't sure if I was just more because she was starting to think that her dad was thinking that Violet was really more valuable than her, and maybe he didn't have any missions or special stuff for Mira, and then Mira felt maybe a little bit left out.
So there's definitely part of that, but I'm pretty sure that she's heard, when she went to see Grandma Niara, she's heard a lot of stuff, and she knows about the Dune dedication.
Yes.
And she's told something like, the heart that beats for her will turn. Mm-hmm. And the prophet, that it's something to do with like the oracle in the temple of Dune or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's she reads that as Violet will turn because it's Violet's heart. But actually, it's Xaden. Because anyway, sorry, that's later.
Yeah. So we have Redog that he's come back. We have Xaden obviously with Violet. Then we had again some discussion between Xaden and Holden. They don't just can the party in peace. Tern is the one who said, "Don't worry, the prince won't be a problem." And then is when we see this dragon that comes to the flying field. Violet noticed there's a blue dragon, and then we were like, "Wait, is that Malvik?" Like Malvik. No, it can't be. She started running to see the Arik is coming, walking towards her as well.
Malvik has a scar across his snout. Do you think that's important? Or I tend to not think it is. I just wondered.
We know the dragons, they have constantly scars, holes in the wings sometimes. So I'm guessing they're just a symbol of it's a dragon that's been in battles. There's a tough dragon because it has scars.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was thinking, and this is saying because Tern knew the Malbec was on the way, and then when Violet found out that yes, he is there, Tern was like, I told you that the firstborn won't be a problem. So I just wondered, maybe it's because Malbec told him to Tern, don't say anything until we're there, because otherwise they might affect something about Arik coming here. They maybe ruin
but
it.
Dragons don't gossip, so I don't think. I don't think he would have taught. Yeah, I just love this scene. I think.
Yeah.
Tern knew that Malvik was coming.
Yes. So now Arik came here to be part of the squad, and even you can see that Xaden has some respect for him. He's like, "Are you sure about this?" And he says, "No, but it's the only thing that I need to do. It's the only thing I have clear there. I had to do it because you're not going to do it with Holden. Holden is just going to ruin everything."
Yeah.
Maybe because he knows very well his brother, or because he has visions at this point, but he knows that he's going to be the one.
Yeah, I think he's channeling at this point. And like we said this, we're not going to just fall into the trap of thinking that it's all precog and forget how good at reading characters and knowing people's personalities Auric is, because Violet says he's always been good at that. And it is a sign of his personality that he spots things, but I think he knows he's got to be here at this point in time. I think he's channeling.
Yes, because it's a big responsibility, and pretty much what he's saying at this point that he's the prince on a bar. So he was going as Arik, but the only way for him to do something like this is just coming as a camp, as a prince on a bar, because even Violet was telling to Dain, "It's your fault. You're the win leader. Why you allow this?" And then it's like, well, Violet, I think in that department he
outranks me. Auric says that he doesn't mind Holden making Xaden's life miserable, but he does mind him like fucking up everything for the continent. And this made me think, like, I spiraled a bit down the rabbit hole of what happened with Xaden and Alec. And I was like, why does he still hate Xaden so much if his brother was an arsehole? And then I was like, well, that's silly, because you can hate your brother and think he's an arsehole, but you don't want him dead, do you? Yeah. Like you can dislike people, but no one ever wants anyone dead, really, do they? So I was like, yeah, that's obvious. Like, he would hate Xaden because he's killed his brother. But it made me wonder why Alec was there in the first place. Was Alec there for the same reason as Auric? Because he knew that Holden and his dad was not doing anything about it. He wouldn't wait for his younger brother to do something about it. He would go, he would bond a rider, and he would take on the Venin. Or was he going there to be all-powerful and get more power so he could be king, and he could be a better king than his dad because he's a more powerful king? And that's the question, isn't it? We don't know anything about Alec.
I think it's going to be the second option, because otherwise he wouldn't be torturing Garrick or being so bad with Garrick, because that's the reason that Xaden gives why he has to kill him, because he was really cruel with Garrick. And probably with the Mark ones as well, because it was maybe put in as they are traitors to Navarre, they are traitors to everything that I represent as a prince. So I think he was just so lost on himself that he's the one that is going to be carrying the crown on Navarre next on line. He wants just more power, wants magic as well.
It's the interaction with Garrick that makes it complicated, doesn't it? Because if he was going in there, he could think that they just went about it the wrong way and they messed it up for everyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could think. Or it was unrelated, but doubt it. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Although, part of me hopes that there was another Towery boy that was in there for the right reasons.
Well, and the way they said and described him, it was just another asshole, just like Holden. And that was, it has to be even worse than Holden, because otherwise Xaden would just kill him just like that.
Yeah.
We're talking about Xaden and his 20th. I'm guessing by this time he wasn't just killing everyone. He would be just one of the first that he killed with his own hands.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Auric appears, or Cam appears through the fog, and Holden's like, what?
It's a fuck.
Yeah. Mira digs at Brennan. She's like, well, he could have just made you think he was dead. Like my brother. Holden says, like, he's going to be dead when the king finds out about it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he does tell the king. I know that he finds out because later in the book he knows, but people we've seen in the past, like people be really worried about telling the king stuff, because obviously the king also can't take a deep breath and count to 3 when he's mad like Holden can't. I just love the scene, like the fact that when Auric says the fact that you were looking in your favorite places for me just shows like how little you understand of the situation. The way that Auric stands up to his brother is amazing. Also, kind of how Holden is at the end, and you can see that he still really cares about his brother. This whole scene is one of, like I said at the top, like I do think it possibly is my favorite in the book. Auric coming into his own, and like this is the reason he's there. And he's clearly like manifested at the moment, and just love it. I really like Auric. Auric is quickly becoming my favorite character.
Well, he started to be like really awesome, because we had just this first moment when he said, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to just do what I came to Basgaia to do. They just stop the Venin. And it's just starting with looking for the 7 Dain dragons, because that's going to be something beneficial to stop all of this. But later on, we start to see as well that it's not just the personality that is so good, it's the knowledge as well, because it turns out he's even better than Dain.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he still doesn't say, I can speak all the languages, you don't need to come. He still like allows him or makes him feel like he's important enough.
Yeah, and even when Dain has a mistake, like that's not the word, is this, well, it's a really common error, so you don't have to take it bad with yourself. And then it was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Oh, so he's such a nice person as well. We love Auric.
Yeah.
Can you make some t-shirts?
We love Auric.
We heart Auric. Yeah. And then Holden like clearly cares about Auric, because Violet says, I won't let anything happen to him, which is a big promise, isn't it, to make? And he says, I'll hold you to that, all of you.
Yes.
So
I think it's when he just calls Violet, when he knows that it has nothing to do here, and then it's just Violet.
Yeah. Look after him.
Look after him, yeah.
Oh.
They leave, they arrive to Deverelli 2 days later.
Yeah, they stop like twice on the way, don't they?
Yes, because I believe for the flyers it's still a long way to go. Once they go to Deverelli, they had to stop for another 2 days because they need to have a good break. But while they're just having this 2 days break on Deverelli, they start studying for rooms They start to see why they don't work or how can they work and when they are out of the reach of the source of the magic and that kind of stuff. Then Violet says that one of these runes they're studying there is the same that Xaden given one of the daggers.
Yeah, sunburn one.
Yes.
Didn't she have that the last time she went?
That's the thing that I was wondering. And also, we still don't know the other daggers that she has. We don't know what exactly runes Xaden thought that she will need.
I know. We need to write this down. We need to write down what we know and how many are missing. And there's 2 in the cave with Solus still.
Potential Bodhi. Eva is actually dead. You see, Solus is alive as well. Nobody dies in this book. And the ones that are alive are Venin.
This is like Twilight all over again. You think they die and oh no, it's still fine.
Yeah.
Spoiler. We should add that warning at the beginning. When they leave Deverelli and they are flying over the ocean towards Umbriel, there's another mention about how Andarna loses access to magic. She says Violet notices that the difference between her good wing and her damaged wing, it's not damaged, the wing that didn't grow properly, is starker when there's no access to magic. So obviously the magic is helping her fly and she doesn't have that. So just another confirmation that you can't access ground or sky magic over the ocean because something is interfering with the signal. And I still believe that there's water magic and that is what it is. So if you're on the water or near the water on an island, say, you have to access water magic. Okay, and then we get another bit of history from 10. He's going through all his line and he goes all the way up to Thru, who is the first black dragon to successfully bond a rider.
Yes.
This whole thing with the islands and the fact that it didn't matter anymore when the humans got involved, it gives me How to Train Your Dragon fanfic. It just makes me feel like, and with the crossbolts and everything, the dragons were attacking. They were attacking and attacking and attacking. And then the riders bonded with them. Yeah. I don't know. I just get it. It feels like a future. The future of How to Train Your Dragon. Like, think How to Train Your Dragon and then think 650 years later.
Well, and the movie, I think it was like 10 years later. That didn't happen anymore.
Yeah. But
no bonds anymore with dragons and humans. So I think as well.
That's how it's going to be at the end.
Dragons living in an independent island. It's just for dragons with no humans.
Yeah. I think that the first ones were like Hiccup was the first 6.
He was the first and the last, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
So I don't know if we're going to have in the end of this series dragons as well. We start to assume that we're not going to have magic, but if there's no magic, then yeah, that means no dragons, no griffons, no magical creatures.
Yeah, sad. Right.
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah. I also started asking like real theology questions. Yeah. Theology, biology. How did the first dragon appear? Mm-hmm. We always talk about the last ones.
Yeah.
Who was the first? How was the first one there? Was it a god? Was it a product of the gods? Was it evolution? What was it?
Yeah, that's a good question because at least in this world, we know the dragons can't live without magic. But then what does it mean? At some point, the magic just created dragons out of the blue?
What came first, the dragon or the egg?
Yeah.
Maybe that can be a question for the interrogation chamber if we want an entire, like, I don't know, series trying to answer that question.
Definitely the magic came first and then dragons, but how the dragons were created from an egg, or just a dragon appeared from magic and then suddenly now eggs.
No idea.
We need to ask to Rebecca.
Yeah. What came first, the dragon or the egg?
They go into the Isle of Doom. Mira is still a little bit funny with Violet. Violet noted that she's wearing like a new bracelet. And finally they start to talk about where she goes, or where did she go when she was on leave. Then she tells her that she went to see her grandma. And Violet can't believe it because for her, she never met her. This grandma Nyara. And she wants to know everything about it. But the funny part was because Mira said that she went to see a grandma, and then Violet thought it was the grandma that died. They was already dead, and Mira was like, "No, why I will do that? Like, take my
visit a grave
to visit a grave? No." And then she was like, "You went to see Grandma Nyara?" And she was like whispering, and Mira was telling her, "You don't have to whisper. Our parents are here." And Violet, she was just looking just in case. And for me, it was like, oh, maybe this is foreshadowing that Lily's still around.
Come on.
I mean, she's just whispering and looking around if maybe Lily is still there because Lily is the one he didn't want to.
Yeah, but it's because it's such a
Grandma
taboo subject in the family. You still can't talk about it. Oh my goodness.
I'm obsessed, I know.
You are obsessed.
Yes.
I want to talk about the bracelet.
Yes.
She said something in the knotwork that holds the little bead in place reminds her of her dad, and you get like smell of parchment and stuff, which is just linking it to dad's family. But the knotwork, that made me think of Tyrish knots and runes. And I wonder if there's any similar kind of magic in Lucerys. And Daddy Sorrengail would have known about it, surely.
Yes. I mean, that could be another explanation for runes. Maybe the runes from Lucerys are different or the one from
the same. They've just been, you know how like languages are different around.
Geometry patterns, but put together in a different way, maybe.
The meaning is the same, but language is different. And like runes we do get confirmation that runes are like a monosyllabic language. So just a symbolic language.
Yes.
We also know that Old Lucerys is because Warwick's journal was in Lucerys.
Yes.
And that's how Violet knew that it was the same type of thing. So I don't see why there wouldn't be some type of rune in Lucerys. And it just like this, I wonder if the bracelet holds any kind of power.
Maybe it has a rune as well.
Well, possibly something that Nyara felt that Mira needed.
Yeah. So Violet wants to know more information about what happens because so far Violet thinks is Grandma Nyara the one who stopped talking to the family. But Mira tells her that no, it was completely the opposite. What the parents were the one that cut their communication with Grandma Nyara. And then Mira says to Violet, you should go to Lucerys and talk to her. Violet says, yeah, because I had a lot of time before graduation. And Mira said, yeah, fair enough. Good point.
But she doesn't tell her anyway.
And she's still not telling it, which means that, yes, she needs to go to talk to Grandma Nyara. But I don't think we will see that in book 4. Because if I was still in the chronological order, next book, Violet will be a 3rd year, so she's not being graduated yet. It will be in book 5 when she finally will graduate, and then she will be able to go to see Grandma.
Do you think she needs to?
It seems that's really important.
But Mira does tell her what she's learned.
Yes, but she's still...
Later on in the book, we find out. So I do think we will meet Nyara, but I'm not sure that it will be so groundbreaking and revealing because we already know what.
Yeah, but I think
Niara
Niara is still like such an important character because so far she will still the closest relationship.
She's
to
the only
Sorrengail.
living relation, that isn't the siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think she'll be important. I think she'll come in clutch. I think she'll like come in and with like this.
Yeah, maybe she's holding a book that maybe she thinks is not that important from Daddy Sorrengail, and then maybe it's gonna be the key to understand something even bigger.
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I'm contradicting myself again, but we do. She was in this book to play a role that was like she knew more about the situation between Dune, and we do find that out in I can't remember what chapter it is now, but it's when Andarna breaks the bond and Violet is just getting around to getting out of bed and stuff, I think. And Brennan and Mira are arguing about it, and we find out all about it then. But it does sound like Lilith and Niara were on the same page about not wanting the Violet to be dedicated, but it was Daddy Sorrengail that took her.
So while they're talking about the books, Violet, she wants to share all the stuff that she has from Daddy Sorrengail to make sure that Mira feel that she's still maybe integrating and the plan and everything. So Violet mentions that every single book has a lot of details about the fauna, about every single island, about some species, the stuff they do during the seasons and all that kind of stuff. And Mira said, why I want that? Like,
Sounds shit.
Yes, that was so important. Like, no. But I think, or I had the feeling that that's kind of important maybe because if Daddy Sorrengail is following like the patterns on some animals, maybe it's because he started to see that maybe there was some kind of magic or something on the ground.
Like migrating them.
Yes, and it's basically telling to Violet to maybe pay attention to these kind of things because those kind of things is the one they're going to tell her there's something bigger that the animals are falling.
Yeah, that's when you need to go. So you need to go at this time. I think there's something about, and I do need to reread these bits, obviously, but I think it's hints to do with Hedotus and when the poison is. So when she can pick the berries, because if the birds migrate too late, the berries are overripe, and that's when they're poisonous and their beaks are blue. And it's the blue berries that she picks, and she poisons Xaden's stepdad with. Stepdad is a bit of an overstatement, but you know what I mean. I can't remember his name. Because I haven't read that bit for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's given her the clues that she needs to outsmart the Hedotus crowd. But I like that. I like the idea that possibly there's something that's migrating.
The animals are falling apart.
Yeah. There's another mention here. Like she says, did Grandma tell you how he had the time? Did she know that he went to Dune? Did she know that he was writing that book? How did he have the time? It's just another reference to my theory that he found some way to manipulate time. Could be Lucerish runes.
Yes, but what Mira says that, she knew, but we don't get any more details.
Nope. Until later in the book.
The plan here in this island is just basically find the soldiers or the people from the island. And the plan they had is just being bait. So Xaden and Violet are in a place sleeping with a blanket covering and everything. So they look just like a regular couple. The soldiers from Umbral, they find them and they think they got these riders and release it. But obviously Xaden and Violet are really prepared. And this shows straight away when the blanket is off. Xaden already has some of the blades, I think, in the throat of the guy. Since it's Violet, they have weapons. The dragons appear, so obviously everything was a plan. It works very well. And now the soldiers, they know that, oh, shit, we fall in this trap.
Yeah. The only thing I thought was odd about this was the mention to the emblem on the soldiers. So we later know that Dune's emblem is crossed swords with a talon, so linked to the dragons. But these soldiers are wearing crossed swords with a horseshoe. And there's a few mentions of the horses of Umbriel later, and Andarna wants to try to eat one.
Yes.
But the horseshoe made me wonder what the link is with Zanal, because a horseshoe is a symbol of luck or bad luck, isn't it? Depending on which way up it is. And I like to think about the links between the gods. And we've got a definite link between love and war. We've got a definite link between the Queen of the Gods and Malak, or we seem to. We've also got a link between Dune and Malak because death and war go hand in hand, and that's why Navarre seemed to favour those two gods. Is there a link between Zanal and Dune? Maybe there's a link between all the gods and war, and possibly there is a link between luck and war, and whether you're like unlucky or lucky.
Yeah, sometimes luck has an important role in something as a war as well.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting. It's a different emblem to what you see in the temple.
Yeah.
And the horseshoe made me think of Zanal. That is all on those chapters, and it's been a long one. Should we go to Oryx Auguries, the part of the show where we call out our favourite theory or bit of foreshadowing from this part of the book, with the hopes that before book 4 we will stitch them all together and come up with some absolutely crackpot montage of theories.
Yes, so for this episode, for me, is the Bodhi actually has a second signet. We haven't seen it yet, but we will find out that yes, he does a signet, like Xaden.
Okay. My favourite is the crackpot one that Daddy found some way to manipulate time, and that's why we get all these references to how did he find the time? Where was the time? And it's linked to Andarna somehow.
Yes.
And that he didn't have time once Andarna had hatched because he didn't have access to the egg anymore.
Yeah.
I also want to bring in the point that it could be to do with the Lucerish knots.
Yeah.
I know I'm going off piste, but okay. Sticking with the theme of precognition, the epigraph for chapter 30 next week, which is the first chapter that we will pick up on next week. It is unwise to favour one god above another. Better to shun them all than to show favouritism amongst a jealous, prestigious pantheon. Major Aureli's Guide to Appeasing the Gods, 2nd edition. I want to get my hands on that book so bad. It's got so much stuff in, hasn't it?
Yes, I mean, everything related to gods now is just really interesting to find out a little bit more about the plot.
Yeah. Okay, so the interrogation chamber. Last week we asked, you have to leave Navarre and live out your days on one of the isles. Which are you choosing?
For me, definitely. Sounds like a paradise for me. Like the way the water has been described, the people living in these trees, it's covering all the town because it's really hot. It
sounds
just like a paradise.
Sounds like your home. Sounds like when we go to visit your parents, like with all the palm trees. And, yeah.
Yes, maybe it's that. It feels just like the perfect place that you can just go there, chill out, and keep reading Onyx Storm.
Yeah. This is so funny because last week we were like, oh, I think it's obvious. I wasn't picking Davarelli.
Oh, really?
Are we going to have to go our separate ways and live out the rest of our days on different islands?
Where are you going?
I'm going to Zelna. I know it's weird, but I just really like
the gifts.
Yeah, that whole thing. No, that whole thing is like a bit. Everyone just seems so happy. They're like, you win some, you lose some. Life is good, life is bad, life is lucky, life is unlucky. Never mind. Yeah. You just live with the hand that you're dealt with. There was people like they heard for weeks that the dragons were on their way, and there was people just like sitting in the stadium waiting, in the hopes that they would be the ones that would see. Just people just seem so like happy,
positive.
Yeah, and Zanal's definitely my favorite. I'm not Although I obviously haven't taken heed of the epigraph from next week. Better to shun them all than to favour one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would go to Zelna.
Okay.
There's also, isn't there a bit of magic there?
I can't remember that. If I was actually magic in the crown or was something else.
They can talk to each other, can't they?
Yes. But then you had to play the games, Sanal games, and then once you get to the island.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
You get an arrow.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about it, would I? I would know, and then I would not.
Yeah.
Might get a broccoli.
Do you think they had like a box full of cats just waiting for people to arrive?
Yeah, the cat's there for a reason. Oh, I can't wait to get to that bit because there's a reason for every single one of those gifts, and I will get to the bottom of it. Right. So next week, the question in the interrogation chamber is: you have to take a gift to the King of Deverelli in exchange for access to his island. What are you taking? Has to be anything you have access to on the continent.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
And normally it has to be something rare and unique for the King of Deverelli.
Has to be something rare and unique, but something that you don't suspect will fuck up the whole thing for everyone, like we do think that the dragon egg.
Yes. Okay. Good question. I like it. Yes.
Okay.
That was the end of the interrogation chamber.
And the end of the show. So once again, thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at FaithfullyFantasyPod. Check out our website www.faithfullyfantasy.com for information about us, about exclusive content that you can access, our shop,